Yeah, well, fear of flying takes on a new meaning as Boeing loses the confidence of passengers and investors. We'll discuss what's at stake next. This is Bloomberg. We just got the breaking news and confirmation of what we were reporting and what the Straits Times were reporting is Singapore is now the next to suspend Boeing 737 MAX operations into and out of the country. That suspension to take effect on March 12th at 2 p.m. local time. Sorry, 2 p.m. local time is when they're starting. So just a couple hours from now. They said they will not allow all Boeing 737 MAX variants to operate. The grounding should also affect Shandong Air and Thai Lion Air as well.
Yeah, 3.5 hours. It's 10:30 local time there. Let's get more on this. Rish and Steve, of course, are standing by to broaden out this conversation, Rish.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something, of course, other airlines, Red Argentinian Airlines just a short while ago, various others at the moment who are grounding the 737 MAXs. Let's get the latest on what is actually happening with this aircraft in view of that Ethiopian Airlines crash. We've got Stephen Engel with me and also Mark Martin, CEO of Martin Consulting and Aviation Consultancy. He works with airports and regulators. But let's just talk, Stephen, where we are with this.
Yeah, that's an interesting one on Singapore because Singapore has their domestic carrier as well, Silk Air, which operates 5 of these MAX 8s. They have 32 on order. Singapore Airlines is more of a long haul. They don't use the single aisle airplanes. That's in addition, as you mentioned this morning, Aerolingus Argentinas also doing a ban, GAL of Brazil, Aero Mexico, in addition to Cayman, Ethiopian, and then, of course, the big one, China, outright ban, as well as Indonesia, which has Garuda 1, and Lion Air has 10 of these. The Singapore ban is interesting because it also includes other airlines flying into Singapore, so it's not just a ban on Silk Air. So this comes after the FAA in the United States overnight basically ruled in a global note that the 737 MAX 8 continues to have airworthiness, and there's no conclusive evidence linking the loss of the Ethiopian Airlines flight to Lion Air crash on October 29th in Indonesia at this point.
Let's get more from Mark Martin. He is from Martin Consulting. He has 20 years of experience in the industry and is a former chief commercial officer at Rwanda, and he joins us from New Delhi. Mark, thanks for joining us. Let's just get your view as to whether these airlines are overreacting, first of all, or legitimately doing the right thing.
Well, morning, Rishat. Well, I mean, the reaction by airlines on the FAA is justified. I think this aircraft we need to get down to the bottom of what's making these planes fall from the sky. You know, I mean, we've seen it in the past with the Airbus A320 back in the 80s when we saw 5 crashes over 3 years. And I think this is definitely the right step to find a solution. It is going to hurt the airlines. It's going to hurt consumers because Asia now, especially India and Southeast Asia, as well as some of the other European operators of the 737 MAX, they will have an impact on their revenues and their P&L. But, you know, you can't help it unless the aircraft is stabilized and we figure what's going wrong. This is the best course of action. It's knee-jerk, but it works.
Now, the FAA did not rule on grounding the aircraft. Can we extrapolate further? I know we don't want to link necessarily the Lion Air crash with the crash in Ethiopia, but signs are pointing, and including in the Boeing statement that came out overnight, they're talking about these improvements to the pitch augmentation control laws, the MCAS, which they perhaps did not give the proper training to pilots. You, as a safety expert, are you concerned by how this was implemented in the new generation of an old airframe, but basically a brand new aircraft?
Well, you know, one of the biggest problems that I've been harping on over the last 5 years is that, you know, regulators need to be more proactive during the type certification phase. When Boeing was putting this airplane out, it obviously went through an FAA type cert phase. And, you know, we all know, you know, Airbus is competing with Boeing, so you rush the aircraft out of the market faster to capture the market. Yes, the MCAS is a new technology, and the ability of it overriding your autopilot and your flight control system is definitely alarming, you know, and even scary to the point that it can induce a nose down, pitch down position. I don't want to link the two unless we get the flight data recorders of the Ethiopian Airlines crash that happened, unfortunate crash that happened. I think we need to put the two together. But no matter how chilling this is in terms of similarities, I would still feel that, as you rightly said, we should not speculate. Let's get the data and see what actually happened.
We're hearing Chinese officials, or at least through the media, asking Boeing, pleading with Boeing to issue a ban. Now, we know the FAA did not a ban, a grounding. FAA did not ground them. They've only grounded an entire model of an aircraft in the last 40 years twice. That was the Dreamliner, which had no fatalities in 2013, but also in 1979 in the American Airlines crash in Chicago with the DC-10, where 270-plus lives were lost. Did the FAA do the right thing by not issuing a grounding when there's been 346 lives lost in these two crashes?
Well, the FAA will issue something called an airworthiness directive or alert AD, but it's up to the local regulators to enforce that, to how they interpret that AD to be. In my honest view, the FAA will not come with a blanket grounding unless they believe something is wrong that happened, which should have been in their control. So clearly this was not expected with the 737 MAX. And I think what should follow suit is we'll see regulators in Malaysia and Singapore and Indonesia, India, Australia, and Europe that would take more harsh, aggressive steps with a complete total grounding of fleet till we figure out what's wrong. And if we got to change that MCAS with an alternative part, then if that's the only solution, then so be it.
Mark, on top of this, of course, we got the similarities of the tragedies. You've also got another aspect to it, that they both took place in developing or emerging markets, developing nations here as well, where standards may be, let's say, a bit more lax. We haven't had an incident like this in, let's say, the Americas or in Europe. So is that, in your view, important or germane?
Well, Ethiopia has one of the cleanest and the best safety records for Africa. I mean, the last crash they had was in Beirut in Lebanon in 2010. Ethiopian Airlines has been maintaining the 787 for the last, 8 years now. They were the first airline to get the 787 Dreamliner, and apart from minor, battery fires and the aft galley fire we saw, there really hasn't been anything significant in terms of a major disaster. I've been to Ethiopian Airlines' maintenance MRO, so I know they have some very good talent there, and incidentally, they are a FAA repair station. Now, even with Lion Air, they are also a certified MRO and a repair station approved by Boeing. So I don't see a maintenance quality here. I see more of a challenge with stabilizing a new aircraft technology. And I think we've seen this in history. Every time we introduce a new aircraft, it always reacts differently to what realities are. So I think a lot has to be done now to stabilize that aircraft, to pinpoint the problems which are affecting its normal flight performance, and so we can get on with our lives and have safe flights out there.
Mark, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark Martin, CEO of Martin Consulting, and also our very own Bloomberg, Stephen Engel as well. We've got Terry Gua and Foxconn making statements and breaking news coming out of there, guys.
Yeah, it's a Facebook post here.